was a Big East Six-Man of the Year award that they were thinking about that year. I just thought that, I remember we were working out, getting ready for our first Big East tournament game, and coach comes to me at the end of practice, and he's like, "Pat, go get dressed when we get back to the hotel, because we got to go to this award ceremony." And I'm thinking I'm just going to the award ceremony because, we won the Big East regular season, so I'm going to get the trophy for us or something like that. I wasn't sure what it was. But I remember sitting there, and I was mad that I won it. I honestly was mad that I won it because I felt like the league was disrespecting us, because we were coming off a year where we won the second Big East championship regular season, but somehow Roy Hibbert was not voted Player of the Year. They gave it to, I think, Luke Herringody, and I think Mike Bray was voted Big East Coach of the Year. And they were like, well, and this is just my mindset, and this is how I fuel myself. Now, not to say that I didn't deserve it, because I definitely think I deserved it. But in order for me to play mental games with myself, I said they disrespected us because they felt like they had to make an award and give it to Georgetown because they won the Big East, and there's no way that they can win the Big East and not have an award winner. And I'm not saying that I didn't deserve it. I definitely think, I deserve the award. I'm glad they made it, and I'm glad I won it. There's no way that Roy Hibbert is not Player of the Year, and there's no way that John Thompson III is not Coach of the Year. So,
right. You mentioned
that's how
JT3 calling you and kind of, I don't want to say mind games or whatever, but before that call, was that not following in your dad's footsteps rather, I should say, and kind of making your own path? Had you thought about that? Was that something you were like, you know what, Georgetown is great, but I want to go to XYZ and make my own name?
Definitely. Definitely. You see that with anybody, with any kid. There's not many people who's had the career my dad has on both levels. There's a lot of times you see, really good college players and they don't become great pros. But my dad was great in college and the pros. He came in high school number one, left number one, goes to the NBA number one, and did a good job of establishing himself for his career. So for me, the first time I chose to not come to Georgetown, I wouldn't say it was as much as me not wanting to follow in his footsteps. But when I was leaving Indiana and I didn't think that I was going to come to Georgetown, it was because I didn't want to follow in his footsteps. I didn't want to go to Georgetown and wear number 33 and play for John Thompson III, a school where, I thought we were going to have a good team, but there was no way that we were going to get to 3 national championship games in 4 years. And when I only had 2 years to play out of the 3 years that I had left of eligibility. So I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot to put on 2 people. And I didn't want to put it on myself to have to live up to that. And I didn't want to put it on John to have to live up to that too. But, when he called me that day and he said he wasn't scared of it, he's like, this is why I came, coach, here. I do want that pressure. Like, we have to be good if I'm here, and then we're going to deal with that. And talking to him on that conversation is what let me know, like, hey, man, if he's not scared and he can handle this and he can do it, why can't I do it too?
I like that.
Nice.
So this is a nice transition, because I think just what you shared about that conversation with you and JT3 definitely reminds me of some Big John type scenarios, and it's less about, I think, a mental or mind game, and more about your character. Knowing what your dad stood for, and then your character, you as an individual. He sensed something in you as an individual, and that's what he related to. That's what he connected with. Bringing it all fast forward to where we are today, and this is your second position on the Hilltop, second position with the program. Clearly, your legacy at the program is cemented. How you're in a leadership position again. How challenging has it been for you? How has those experiences as a player, as a son of the guy who pretty much put Georgetown on the map? How has that been challenging for you, and how do you think your skill set has set you up to be successful?
Well, first of all, Georgetown was already on the map. He just put the star on the map next to it. You know what I'm saying? Like Georgetown was Georgetown before Patrick Ewing, and it's going to be Georgetown forever. But he did.
John Duran very much appreciates you saying
he definitely does. But but we be lying. Like he took it from here and put it here. Like it just is what it is. For me, I've had two positions at Georgetown, like you said earlier. Obviously I missed my first position. I loved being on staff with Coach Thompson III, and obviously with the nepotism rules that the school has, they're not allowing my dad to hire me. But that is what it is, and I was very fortunate they were able to move me and transition me into another role. But I feel like I provide a very unique vision with my new current role, because I've seen Georgetown from 1984 up until now. I've been a part of Georgetown from 1984 up until now. I can connect with the players that played here when you were here, Gene, the managers who were here, Markham, with the group that you guys had, then on to my group and then beyond, because I coached here as well. So it allows me to a unique perspective because I can relate to everyone. I know that everyone didn't have a great time here, and I know why people say they didn't have a great time, why they did have a great time, and I can relate to it and I can understand it. But, my goal is to bring everybody back. My goal is to make sure that everyone knows that they are still welcome here, that they are still wanted to be around here. And I think I've done a pretty good job of it, trying to bring everyone back, and not just back physically, but back mentally. And I think that as we move forward, in the years to come, as we get out of COVID and as we, move towards, us being who we were before, and because I see a bright future in what we have here on the Hilltop, I think that more people are going to want more of the former players and managers and staff members are going to come back and they really enjoy it, because like you see it with a lot of these other programs, like all these, you look at a Kentucky, and at any Kentucky game, there might be 50 former Kentucky players, managers, coaches in the seats right there. And I want that here too, because we have that same history. We have that same pedigree. And, Georgetown is a good place for that. And as we start getting more guys in to come back and be feeling like they're a part of it and more involved, I think that's the better for us in the future.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned the several jobs you've had at Georgetown. Out of all of the jobs you had post-college, what was most challenging for you?
Honestly, I would have to say my most challenging. I would say coaching is probably the most challenging, because it's trying to relate the things that I learned in my growth through the game and relaying it to a younger generation who doesn't see things the way I see it. I think my first couple years after I retired, it was really, really hard for me, because I didn't retire because I got hurt. I didn't retire because no one wanted to hire me anymore, or no one wanted to pay me to play basketball anymore. I retired because there was an opportunity to coach at Georgetown, my alma mater, and I didn't think it was something I should pass up if I wanted to become a coach down the road. But with that being said, I'm looking at these guys that we have on our team at the time, and I'm like, I can beat all of y'all. Can none of y'all beat me in one-on-one? Can none of y'all beat me in 5-on-5? Like, I'm better than all of y'all. That's how I felt. And I think that was hard for me to understand. Like, all right, I can't just go out here and let's play one-on-one with, Bradley Hayes and take his confidence the way I could as a player and then try to build it up back in him or something like that. And not to say that, me and Bradley don't have battles and stuff like that, but like I had to get out of the mode of I can kick your butt as a player to how can I teach you the things that I learned as a player and put that into you so that moving forward, you become a better player down the road. I think that competitiveness that you have as a player and you're trying to make that transition into the coaching world is tough. It's definitely tough. But, I think after 2 years, I kind of figured it out. Like, I can't talk trash to my players all the time, or I can't speak to them a certain way as a player.
Talk trash to everybody. That's impossible.
It is. And anyone who knows me knows it's hard. It's definitely hard for me not to talk trash. But there's a way that you do it. There's definitely a way that you have to go about doing it. And every kid is not the same. Every kid doesn't take it the same. Like one of my favorite players that we had here during the time was Marcus Derrickson. I could say whatever I want to Marcus Derrickson. I could beat him up when we play in one-on-one or something like that. But the way he's going to take it is going to be different than the way, let's say, a Rodney Pryor takes it. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that from the coaching standpoint, because on the basketball, as a player, you don't. I feel like players took it differently when I was playing versus when I was coaching.
Pat, let me ask you a question. Because you've been around the program for so long, and we've established a type of play. We've established types of players. How do you feel in dealing with the generation today? Is that something that we've continued to do, or we turn the corner in terms of, because the generation is so different? This is a new look Georgetown, because if you think about the JT3 offense and how his style of play, that was completely different to how we played with your dad, with Big John. But that transition was effective. It was successful. Looking at the crew today and looking at how we bring players in today, how much of a Georgetown pedigree, or is it more about the game has changed so much? Are we looking for a mindset? How difficult is it, or how challenging is it?
I think it's both. I mean, honestly, I think you have to be able to encompass both aspects. You have to be able to know the history of Georgetown, what Georgetown stands for, but you also have to be moving forward, because basketball is changing. Basketball is changing every day. I mean, back when you played, there was no 3-point line, Gene. You know what I'm saying? Like when I played, there was nobody that. Back when I was playing, no one was pulling up in transition and shooting threes. And when I played, Roy Hibbert was, every time we came down the court, Roy got to touch the ball. When you played, every time Big Pat's in the game and he got a cup, like you're gonna send it to him on defense, and offensively when he's open, y'all better give him the ball. Nowadays it's not the same anymore. It's not the same. So you have to grow and evolve with the game. So I think it's finding a mix of both, like being able to have that old feel, but obviously blending it in with the new stuff. And I think that it's actually, I don't think it's bad. Like, I think that's just how basketball is in general. Like, I feel like people and teams who try to stick with too much of the past get stuck in the past, and you get lost like that. And then there's also teams that try to move so fast forward, and that, you kind of get lost in the shuffle as well. So I think just finding that middle ground and being able to harness both sides is what makes the most programs successful.
Yeah. Which obviously always brings us to, the DMV, and how do we get more intentional? How do we get more aggressive about the talent in the DMV? How compelling is that in terms of keeping that Georgetown pedigree? Is that something? Obviously we are an extension of the program. Hoya locker room is an extension of the program, and your phone will ring if there's something I see that I can share with the program, just in terms of what's going on in DC in terms of talent. How has that changed over the years? How's that changed?
I don't know if I would say it's changed so much. I feel like the kids have changed a lot too. Not as much as, like, we talk about recruiting the DMV hard. I mean, I still think a lot of it is, you still got to recruit hard. I mean, you got to recruit hard no matter where kids are. I think I say this a lot, but like, I feel like if Georgetown was in Montana, wouldn't no one complain about us not getting Montana kids? You know what I'm saying? But that's not where we are. That's not our situation. We are in a hotbed of basketball. I think a lot of it has now to do with, there's so many other schools that you're visible to see as a kid coming up now. Like, And a lot of times kids don't want to stay home, but that's not an excuse. You know what I'm saying? You got to make it so that these kids want to come to your program. We got to be, our outreach to the communities have to be there so that kids see us at a young age so that they still want to come to Georgetown and they don't want to leave the area, right? So I feel like recruiting the area is big because there is a hotbed here. I mean, Kevin Durant's the best player in the world right now, and he's from the area. You know, you look at Villanova's rosters when they won the national championships, and a lot of their rosters from the DMV area. I feel like anytime you look at teams that are very successful, you see these kids that came out of here and are being successful as they move forward. So I feel like, you know, recruiting the area is definitely big, and you know, I think that we do a good job of recruiting them, but now it's not just about recruiting them. It's about getting them, and that's where it lies the difference. It's not about so much like, yeah, we could say we're recruiting anybody. Shoot, nowadays the way that the internet world is, they're recruiting kids in 6th grade. Like you hear a 7th grader gets offered by whatever school, and so it's easy to say you recruit a kid, but it's making sure that kid feels loved and he wants to stay at home.
And part of the reason why I asked that question is because I think as a Hoya family, as an extension of the program, is there more that we can do? Just in terms of communication, just in terms of something as simple as this. You know, I envision if this was a current player that had just graduated, the reception, the demand, the audience would be bigger. And anything we can do to put Georgetown in front of people more, because like you said, the internet has allowed you to do that. And I just think having you in this position is inspirational to me, because now I know I can pick up the phone and say, hey, Pat Jr., this is what we're thinking about doing. Is this a good thing? Does this help? So I just that's why I brought it up, because I think the more things you have people that are connected to the program that are positive, that helps you guys do what you do.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean that's the biggest thing, you know, just making sure that we stay positive with each other. I mean, we've all been a part of the sports world long enough to know that every program goes through ups and downs and leaps and bounds, and so it's just making sure that we're doing the things that we can do to keep our program going in the right direction. Like one of my favorite former players who helps us a lot is DJ Owens. You know, DJ does a great job. You know, DJ's helped a lot, as you know, we've already had the pipeline in Louisiana, but he keeps it open. You know, he makes sure that he sends, hey Pat, like we got this kid. You know, Colin had a great game yesterday. Pat, you know, I got this kid out here, Colin Holloway. Make sure you send him to your dad. This kid might be all right. You know, when we had Josh, you know, he was like, hey Pat, like there's Josh LeBlanc. And the thing about DJ is DJ don't have his hand out asking me for, you know, anything when he's helping me. You know, some people want to help you and they have, hey man, I can get you this kid, but you got to get me this job, or you got to do this and that. And like, I mean, that's helping you. And I mean, there's always give and take, right? There's always going to be give and take. But, you know, I'm not always in a position where I can help everybody all the time and do whatever they do. So like sometimes, like when I was playing, I could call coach and be like, hey coach, man, there's this kid in Atlanta that you may want to look at. But I don't want nothing back from it. Like I just want my school to look good.
Well, as you well know, I don't have a problem calling anyone saying that I see something out here.
Facts.
You know,
Facts.
because no, don't bother me. I've been told no most of my career. So, you know, but when it comes to family, you know, we have a big enough network that I think we just need to exploit it more. And
definitely.
I
definitely.
just think
And we have
sure.
And we have great guys, like all of our former players. They, you know, the people who come to me in my role, and everyone knows my phone is always open. I don't care if we never got along before or whatever's going on. Like my phone line is always open for anybody who wants to talk to me about anything. And I do my best to, you know, when like let's say Markham said he sees this kid in California and he thinks this kid got a chance to be good. Hey, he calls me, I call my dad, and he calls, hey, let's go. Like Markham said, this kid's good. Let's go look at him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how it should be. Like, and I feel like a lot of schools, a lot of other schools use that pipeline like that, where they're, hey, like there's like Otto Porter, for example. No one would have known about Otto Porter because he didn't play AAU if it wasn't for word of mouth somehow, right? And Otto Porter turns into one of the top 10, 15 Hoyas to ever play. But if we just went based on looking at, ESPN.com recruiting stuff, no one would know about Otto Porter because he wasn't the name on the AAU circuit.
Right.
And that's what I love. That's what I love about our guys. Though. Like, you know, I get messages all the time from our former players who are like, "Hey, look, I got this kid who plays at this school. You might want to come look at him. And he may not be the star, but I see potential in him." And I'm always quick to be like, "All right, hey, look, if you can find me some full game film, I'll take a look at him. If I think he's good enough, I'll send him over to my dad and let the coaching staff recruit him after that."
You know, we're talking about recruiting a lot, which I think, without a question, without doubt, is the most important part in college basketball. You can have Dean Smith, Mike Krzyzewski, Larry Brown, Nolan Richardson, John Thompson as a coaching staff, and if you got Markham Stansbury at your 5, you're in trouble. As great as I am in the post, you're in trouble.
We love talking about this post game, dude.
So
every show.
So you know, we got question from the fans of the show. How is it? Do you think it would be best for the fans to stay connected? And what would you like the fans to understand about the program? Because fans can be all over the place, you know, upset about this, upset about that. And a lot of times, and I know this from having been there, like, people just don't know.
And just to put a little extra emphasis on that question was from the Big East, the #1 Big East fan group, call them Hoya family. So that question was, I reached out to them because I want, you know, I think that access is important. You know, and Pat, you could speak to it a little bit when we did the video last year for the team going into the NCAAs. That idea you had, and I think that's awesome. So, you know, to kind of piggyback on what Markham's asking, you know, how do we, because we have such a diverse fan base, which speaks to the strength of our program. What's the best way to make sure we stay connected? Because, you know, they're going to be, I like the heat. I like the controversy. You and I kind of built the same way, that way. You know, the more you talk about me, the more I get going. But just from a fan standpoint, do you have some encouraging words or some thoughts about the program as we transition to keep us connected? I think that's what.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the first thing I always think of is, I remember when I was in high school watching Georgetown play in what was called the Verizon Center, or maybe it was even MCI Center back then. And I'm like, man, there really ain't nobody here. There's nobody in this gym. And then, you know, one of the reasons I went to Indiana is because when I went to a game and they were playing a bad team, the place was sold out and it was rocking. It was just rocking in there. And I was like, and like you, Gene, like, you feed off of that. Like, I fed off of that. I loved away games more than I liked home games as a player, because no one talked trash to me at home games. No one was getting me hype at home games. But I knew that at away games, somebody going to talk to me. Somebody going to say something about Patrick Ewing and F my dad this or something like that. And when y'all lose today, it's because of you. You're the reason that y'all lost, because you got me ready to play today. And home games weren't like that. And I remember being like, when I get to Georgetown, I want to sell this thing out as much as possible. I want our crowds to be hyped, because that is the college atmosphere that you see when you watch a Duke game at Cameron, and you see the students going like this, and, you know, they're having fun, and you're like, yo, you want to play for people like that. But then when you come to a Georgetown game sometimes, and the student section is like 300 students deep, and you're like, man, like, what am I playing for? Like, I'm not playing for Georgetown at this point, because Georgetown ain't even here supporting us. So I think the biggest thing is really just supporting the group, supporting these guys. Like, you know, whether you win or lose, obviously everyone wants to win, but like, these guys are working hard. They're doing the best that they can every day. But, you know, sometimes it's just like, you know, they still want to feel supported. And I can't say that in my tenures here that I felt like the group always felt like they were supported unless they were winning. Unless we were like, I felt a lot of support when we was winning championships. Like, but it's easy to support the team that's winning the championship. I felt a lot of support last year after the Big East tournament that I didn't feel the whole rest of the year. Mm-hmm. I felt a lot of support last year after the Big East tournament that I don't feel right now as we going through this little skid that we're going through right now. So it's easy to support the winners. You know, it's always easy to support the winners, but can you support us when we're not playing as great as we want to be? And at some point, we're gonna come out of it. You know, we just like anybody else, we're gonna come out of it and we're gonna be back where we're supposed to be. But then, as a player or as a person who is part of it, I remember being that guy to be like, no, I don't want your support now. You wasn't supporting me when I was down. You wasn't supporting me when it was hard to support me. But you want to support me now when it's easy to support me. And that's why I love our Hoya Hoop Club, right? Our Hoya Hoop Club is fantastic because they do like that group, Mark and that group right there. I always feel the support from them. I talk to Mark probably once a week. And even like, you know, he texted me last night and I'm not a moral victory guy. I'm not. I want to win. At the end of the day, there's no such thing as a moral victory because I can't put my record as a coach is 20-10, but I got 6 moral victories. Like there ain't no such thing as a moral victory when I'm trying to get hired and fired. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a thing. But at the same time, it's nice to know that, you know, I got that support where people will be like, hey man, like keep your heads up. We're seeing the things that are happening over there. We're seeing us moving in the right direction. So just my biggest thing is just that support, man. Just being positive with the support and making sure that we can make sure that these kids who are still kids feel the love and that they want to play for Georgetown. And I think that also goes into, like we were saying, that recruiting.
Let me ask you this. You talk about that support versus the up times and the down times. Do you think that, and what you said made me think about something that came up with our last guest, Mike Sweetney. Do you think that even in the good times, the typical Georgetown fan is the type of person to be super vocal, rowdy, and what I'm getting at is like growing up in Memphis, like Memphis, Louisville was like people in general will say probably Duke, Carolina is the greatest basketball rivalry in terms of college basketball. Growing up in Memphis, you couldn't have told me that was the truth because Memphis State, Louisville was as hyped as anything that got. And when the players were being introduced from Louisville, the whole student section, they pull out newspapers, act like they weren't paying attention. I mean, the Duke fans do whatever they do. And I don't know, I mean, I was there doing some great times. I don't remember our fans doing that. And I remember being at I can't remember who we were playing. It was a HBCU, and the band was super live. And Miss Finley was like, you know, why can't our band be like that? And I was just like, I don't know that that's ever gonna happen. Like what do you think like could help that? Because I like that's in my DNA. I remember being Georgetown played Memphis, and Larry Finch was the coach who, rest in peace, had a great impact on my life. My mom taught him. I mean, that's like family. But we were playing Memphis in Memphis, and Ronnie Highsmith was sitting next to me, and I was nonstop rowdy the whole game. At some point, I turned around to the student section and I said, somebody in here ought to go down there and help Larry. I know one of y'all can play because them dudes ain't getting it done on the court. And Miss Michael said to Ronnie Highsmith, you're gonna have to escort him out of here because he gonna get killed. That kind of thing, I've never seen that at Georgetown. And I think that could be helpful.
I'm going to interject here, Pat. because what he's describing is the Georgetown bench, the Georgetown DNA. We've always had a rowdy bench. We've always had a bench that talked more smack than I think rival teams. That came with our DNA. But as it relates to our fans, I just think you have to look at Georgetown, the school, right? Georgetown is, we're not supposed to be good in basketball. I mean, if you think about the makeup of how the program started, Big John gets there, we start to get good, right? But still, Georgetown is an elite school. Basketball wasn't in its DNA, even though it went to a Final Four in the NCAA in 1943. But I mean, so I just think because of the nature of our fans, it's always going to be tumultuous. It's always going to be, pockets. But I think to Pat Jr.'s point, we've never been a program that's just been solely built on winning. Right? I think we offer so much. We're a bit of a cultural renaissance. Like, I mean, there are other programs that look to our program to emulate. So I guess to me, what I would offer up, or what I would discuss with Pat Jr. is how are ways that we can engage more. What does that look like in the future? Because I think you being in your position is the best start to that. Because our program wasn't really built on engaging with our fans, and how do we get better at that?
I think one of the things that I want to, that I've discussed and I want to kind of work on in the future is first, like kind of like Markin was saying, like, when we think about rivalry games and stuff like that, you think about the rowdy fans. But, Duke, Carolina, those games are always rowdy, but Duke fans are rowdy all the time. It don't matter what game it is, right? And I would put the Duke education just a little bit below the Georgetown education. But I would say that the school level is kind of like they both there, right? And I think that when our guys are doing, we're winning, it's easy for us to be rowdy at a lot of games. It can't just be that we're rowdy when Syracuse comes, or it can't be that we're just rowdy when Nova comes or St. John's comes. Like, we have to have that support all the time. But I think a lot of it may have to do with, we might have to teach our students how to be fans that way. I've gotten some feedback from some parents of alums, and we've talked about, they showed me some footage from other schools. For example, Gonzaga, when they have their parents' weekend and when they have their the first week of school, when the kids first get there, they have these pep rallies where they teach them, like, hey, look, these are the student sections. These are the cheers that we cheer. These are, whatever that want the students to know. So that way, when they come to these games, they know how to be rowdy. And I think that's something we should implement. I honestly do. I think that's something that would be awesome for our students and get them engaged early. And that's how you build these bonds. Like, Gene, you can walk into Georgetown right now, a Georgetown event, and everyone's going to know who you are because you played on those national championship game teams. You won a national championship game here. They're always going to love you for that, no matter what's going on in your life, ups, downs, anything. Like, you are a part of that, and that fabric, and everyone who went to school with you during that time is going to have a feeling for you towards, because they remember what you brought for their 4 years or 5 years or whatever when they were in college, right? People who were in school when I was in school, they're going to have that, man, back-to-back Big East championships, Final Fours, blah, 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 blah. They feel that. They have that connection. But when the teams may not be doing as well, or when, or anything, like, they got to be able to come back and be like, hey, look, I had the best time here. I remember going to these Georgetown games. Man, we used to cheer our butts off or whatever. Like, so I think, like, having something like that where we teach our students how to be fans in the ways that, successful programs do, it's not only good for the program moving forward, but it creates something for the kids. Like, it creates something like, man, I remember going to these games and we was cheering our butts off all the time. And this is a great memory. Like, going to sporting events for these students is like an outlet, right? Everyone goes home, and when they get home from work, a long day of work, they want to watch sports. Like, everyone today is going to watch the football game because it's their downtime, it's their leisure time. And that's an outlet. And so for our students, going to these games should be the same way, where they can go out there, they can let loose, they can have fun and cheer on a team that they love so much. Yeah. And I think we got to get back to that and teach them how to do that.
And just because I have you here, and you probably heard me say it to you already, and if I haven't, shame on me. What we would like to see, and because I am a rabid fan of Georgetown, of the Hoyas. I may not, I may carry a little bit different than other people, but when you guys are playing, I'm locked in. And what I'd like to suggest, or what I'd like to see, coming from the program that I came from in the 80s, which was basically stealth, Darth Vader, no contact. As we fast forward to today, and the kids are, with the kids leaving so quickly and coming in the way they're coming in, any increased access where we could showcase our players, or we can have our players engage in a way that obviously is not disruptive, in the ways that work. Any way that we can do that, because we had, one of the questions we had for you was like, what is something about a current Hoya that people would find interesting, like maybe whether it be a hobby or somebody who's the fastest on the team that we would never think, or the strongest, even though we know Tim is probably the strongest because he looks like he picks up houses.
Aminu, by far.
So that's my point. Like things like this, Pat, I just think if we could share that more, that would be so engaging. And you're so good with the jabs. I'm suggesting you have your own weekly. Not like you don't have 5 jobs already, but you get my point.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think that you think about it from back when you was playing, or even when I was playing, the access that people had to us was very, very limited. I mean, I think it was worse for y'all than it was for even my group now. But obviously, with social media and things like that, like you kind of get more access to it. And I think that, we're not in the dark ages anymore, but, we're not as far ahead as a lot of these other people who have been giving access to people for years, right? But I think we're moving in that direction. I mean, like even this year, like I remember, I think the first game of the year, Aminu had a double-double, and I remember thinking to myself, and maybe that was the first game, but it was in the first semester. And Markham, you and Gene both know, first semester, freshmen don't do interviews, right? Like freshmen did not do interviews. Even me, when I was first semester, I wasn't even a freshman. My first semester that I played, I couldn't do interviews. And I remember Aminu had a good game, and he did an interview after the game. They called him to do interviews after the game. And I was like, dang, that's where we are right now. Like, okay, like we taking steps towards that. And especially like, how can you tell a reporter that he can't talk to Patrick Ewing as a freshman after a game? Like, it's hard. Like, it's hard. Like the guy had a monster game, probably had 10 points, 12 blocks, and 13 rebounds. You can't talk to him. Like, he's the one person we want to talk to. Aminu, it's the same thing. Like, Aminu was having a great game. Like, guy had a double-double his first game in college. Like, how do you not talk to the kid who's a McDonald's All-American? And so I think we're moving in the direction. I mean, I think the social media thing is getting bigger for them, for the program. And hopefully they start doing some more videos and stuff that shows these guys' personalities. I think one person on our team that people would love to get to know more of is Ryan Mutombo, because he has a lot of character to him. Like that kid's pretty special. Like he likes to talk to people, and sometimes he talks a little too much. But but he's a great kid though. Like, and that's part of growing as a student athlete.
Yes.
And I think that as we move forward, you'll see more of that. You'll see more accessibility to these players. I mean, especially with the name, image, and likeness stuff. You're gonna get more from these players than you ever got before. But I think we're moving in that direction.
But I want you to understand what I'm saying is I don't expect us to be something we're not. I just think Georgetown is such a unique program, and what it means to so many people. There's a way for us to do it our way. And I don't want to be Duke. I don't want to be Kentucky. I want to be Georgetown. And I just think, again, I'm not blowing you up. Yes, we are celebrating you, but I'm not blowing you up. But you in this position, to me, speaks to that. Because again, your legacy on the hilltop, your journey to the hilltop, you've been on the outside looking in. I just think you're well positioned, and yeah, man, yeah, I just want to make it understood. We're unique, and how we showcase that, we should showcase it in a unique way, and it's clearly more than just.
Definitely. And I think one of the things about it too is like when you think about Georgetown basketball players post Georgetown, the Allens, the Dikembes, anyone really, like, because we've been trained, and not necessarily trained, but like, we've been kind of held back, I would say. You don't understand all of our personalities, right? So like, if you, like, Gene, my dad, you played with my dad, you were my dad's roommate, you wouldn't say he's this big, excuse my language, asshole all the time. Like, a side of him that most people don't get to see. And Markham, the same with you. You knew a side of the guys that were on the team that most people don't get to see. But when they're in the public eye, they see, the big stoics, the guys who are more secluded and reserved away.
I think you hit it right on the head when you said we have been. I don't know. I would say trained, conditioned might be a better word. You're absolutely right.
And the thing is, like, so people, like, and I think that's one of the things I like about, the world that we live in now with social media. Like, you're allowed to see a side of these people, these athletes, these basketball players, or whoever we're talking about, that you typically don't get to see. And obviously what you see on social media always isn't the real person. I mean, we all know that. But at the same time, it allows you to see into something that you typically don't get to see. And that's why I like it. Like, now we're moving into an age where you get to see a side of Ryan Mutombo that you don't normally get to see. You get to see Dante Harris will get on his Instagram Live probably once a week and just get on there and answer questions that typically, and previously we couldn't do or weren't allowed to do or whatever. Like, but there are so many things about the way that the world is going now that allows you insight into getting to know kids on a level that you didn't get to know before. And I think that honestly is going to help our group as we move forward too, because if I know the players on the team on a personal level, it's easier for me to support them if they aren't doing well. It's always easy to support me when I am doing well. But when I know you and I can relate to you and I have a little bit of access to you, or I wouldn't even really say access, but I get to know you on a level that typically, historically, we didn't get to know you on, that allows me to support you a little more.
Yes.
So
we're coming up on an hour.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Mark.
And we don't want to keep you too long, but before we close out, because you have been around the program your entire life, I don't think you need as much time to study and think about this question as other people. I want to hear your top 5 by position. So give me your starting 5, but I also want you to fill out the team. And you mentioned Mark Guerrero. I hope that you are better at this than him, because Mark Guerrero, I don't know if you saw the episode when he was on, but Mark Guerrero, I mean, it's hard for me to even repeat it. His starting 4. Do you know who it was?
His starting 4? I mean, if it wasn't me, then does it really matter?
His starting 4 was David Wingate.
I did see that.
So let's get it. 1 through 5.
And for the record, he wasn't playing small ball either.
Oh man! So if I had to go, so I'm doing a whole. How big is my roster? You said I got to do a whole roster. That's a lot.
So we got your starting 5, all top time 5 Hoyas by position, and then you're gonna fill out the roster. You got 7 more. So we're going 1 through 12.
I'm going all 12. I'm going all 12.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so obviously at center, I got to go Dikembe because he's the best Hoya center that's ever was on earth.
Mark Guerrero too. Mark Guerrero.
No, I got to go Big Pat at the starting five. And I'm going to say this: my starting four. I'm only going to put him at the four because when him and Dikembe was in school together, he did start at the four. So I'm going to go along. And I'm not playing. I'm thinking more of a. I'm playing an old school game, so we're gonna go Alonzo at the four.
Okay.
For my three, I'm gonna go to. I gotta go back to my roots with Jeff Green. my two. Who do I want at the two? My two is gonna be. I think I'm gonna go Sleepy. I'm gonna go Sleepy at the two, and Allen at the one.
Wow.
Now, when I go to the bench, I'm the sixth man of the year, so you can't take that from me. So I'm the first person coming off the bench. I'm always gonna pick me. I would have been a starter, but Jeff pretty good, and I can't beat Alonzo yet, so I'm gonna go.
Jeff is ageless.
I can't start. Hey, look, Jeff's doing stuff right now that he wasn't doing when he was 18. So
ageless.
It's ridiculous.
Ageless.
So I'm gonna go myself as a sixth man. I'm gonna throw I'm gonna go John Duran in there. So that's two bench players. Wingate, that's three. Sweetney, that's four. I gotta throw Dikembe in there. So that's my second five coming in the game right there. I got two more spots. Who I want to go with my last two spots?
Who you looking? You looking at one of the kids?
I gotta look at the wall. I gotta look and see who I'm missing. I don't want to feel like I'm missing anybody.
Oh, you gonna miss somebody?
I definitely am. I'm gonna throw Smitty in there. Throw Smitty in there because what Smitty did with the rosters he had, that was tough. And then I said Gate. Oh, Reggie. I didn't say Reggie, did I?
You have not said Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie. There we go. I'm good. And I know I miss Otto. I miss Moose. I miss some of the younger guys. But I'm old. I've been around a long time. I've been around the program a long time, and there's a special place in my heart from the guys that I learned how to play the game from. And that's why I got to go with the order.
I just thought about one more thing. For that 1 through 12, who's making the Gatorade?
Who's making it? Hey, look, me. I'm 6 man of the year. I do everything.
You on the team. Who's the manager?
Who's my manager? Oh, definitely not Markham. I'll tell you that. Hey, look, I remember Markham Gatorade. It was not that good.
Hold on, I babysat you, dude.
And you really did, though. That's what's crazy.
So I don't know about you guys, but what I like about this exercise when Markham asks the questions, it speaks to how many people have come through, how much talent has come through Georgetown.
For sure. I mean, even I didn't even get to say Roy. Yeah, Roy was a beast. I played with Roy. He was, like I said, he should have been player of the year. He should have been a top 5 pick in the draft, and all-star to come from where he came from. There's so much talent that's gone through this school. One of the things I like to talk about is our jersey wall. And so, we have our jersey wall, but then we have there's a wall leading to the locker room that the players get to see every day that's got every name of players who, not only the guys who played a full year, but the guys who got 10 days, the guys who got drafted. And I love that wall more than I love the jersey wall because it shows how powerful we really are. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the jersey wall that we have now only shows part of the story. And that wall that the players get to see every day when they're walking to their locker room, that shows the more of the whole story of who we are and our history.
So what you just explained is, again, our history and what's going on currently today. So the ability to showcase the current crew as it relates, there's just a way because they need our support now, and they need it, to your point, every single game. So I just feel like the more that we can tell their stories, right, the more that we can showcase them in our way, because we're never going to be full access. That's not how we get down. But by the same token, however we move forward, the more we see of our crew, the better. But yeah, fam, we've gone over time. I mean, I could talk to you all day. I still have questions here I want to get at. I hope you come back. If you could share with us the logo and the sign in the back, the Ewing Realty thing, what you currently don't want to give you a shout out for that. If you could let us know how that's going.
It's going really well, and it's honestly something that I didn't think I would ever get into. But I had a friend, a Georgetown Hoya football player who very close with, Harrison Beecher, who convinced me to become a real estate agent when I was in between knowing what we were going to do when JT3 was gone and before they hired my dad. And I was like, yo, I don't know what I want to do. And he suggested I try to get into real estate. And, you know, I got into it, and it's been great. I love, you know, working with clients who are looking to buy and sell houses. And actually, I do a thing. I don't promote it as much as I probably should, but when I work with a Hoya, 10% of my commission I give back to the school. So I've worked with about 4 Hoyas on some deals, and I donate 10% of my commission to the General Scholarship Fund at Georgetown every time I work with a Hoya. So anyone who's listening, if you're looking to buy and sell a house, you know, and you want to give back to the school in the same way, anytime I get you in your house or sell your house, 10% of that commission goes back to the school.
Yeah, you need to put that on your IG or somewhere, just so people know that. I think that's pretty awesome. I guess again, man, in closing out, I just want to thank you for being here. Markham usually sends out a questionnaire, just a post deal in terms of how we can get better. I'd like to put you on the spot while you're here and ask you if you could share, because I know you watched some episodes and we appreciate that. If you could share anything on how we can get better at what we're doing, because again, you're part of the solution, right? So if you don't have anything on record right now, or maybe you can hit us later, but anything you think we can do better here at Hoya Locker Room to continue to help support the program.
That you can do to help support the program?
Do better, do more.
Do better. I mean, I just think it's, you know, like I said earlier, it's just, you know, making sure that we are, you know, one thing you want to do is make sure you hold everyone accountable, right? That's first and foremost. And then just being there to support us, whether that's physically, whether that's on socials, whether that's, you know, in any way, shape, or form, just support. Like, that's always the biggest thing when we talk about this sports world. Like, you know, these guys got to feel supported. These guys got to know that they're in the right hands, basically. You know, that the people who are supposed to be for them are for them, and they're not. Like, if I go behind a player's back and start talking bad about him and to get back to him, that's not a good thing, right? They don't trust me anymore. Right. So just making sure that we keep our heads on the right path, and, you know, just like I said, just continue to support these kids, because at the end of the day, 1, they are kids, and 2, they do need your support. And, you know, when they feel good about themselves, when they feel good about their program, they're gonna play harder for you, and they're gonna play better.
Okay. Well, that's clearly what we're all about. And, you know, going forward, if there's ever an opportunity for us to sit down and chop it up with one of them, we'd be all for it. Because I think that's, you know, to your point, that's the direction we're going in. Because it's about access, but it's obviously you want to control that access so it's beneficial for the kid. Anything you want to end with, Markham?
That's a great ending right there.
Okay. Well, Mr. Ewing, sir,
thanks for coming through. We hope to see you again. And tell one of the guys that wore 33 before you that you know well, he needs to come through too.
Will do.
I will end with one thing. I love what you said. There are no more victories. There are no more victories. Thank you, sir. Enjoy
Take care, man.
Thank you, guys. Love y'all, man. For real. Forever, man.
All right.